everybody. Welcome to the Elmhurst Public Library watercolor class. And I'm happy to be with you today. I'm Karen Exiner. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go through our supplies. You did get watercolors. You got 2 brushes. And they are stiff, if you notice. I don't know if you've noticed, but they're stiff, so you have to use soap and water to wipe off the chemical that's protecting the brushes while they're in transit. Okay? And the brushes are, these are actually barrel brushes, and this is a liner brush. I think you got 2 brushes, a big and a small one. You should have in your kit. You also got the sketch that we're going to paint on. I'm also included a little treat for you, and you can copy this when, using your watercolor skills. You got some paper, extra paper, to test your watercolors, to see how they look on paper. It's the same paper, similar paper that we're using that's on your sketch. The sketch is on watercolor paper, so it should work out fine. Don't forget you need water, of course, it's watercolors. And I treated myself to a new watercolor container. It's the one side is to wash the brushes, the other side is for painting, to use with your paints. The reason why is that way your paints won't get muddy, because if you use water for a while, it starts to get muddy. Let's see, I'm trying to think of what else. I actually use egg cartons to mix colors, but you can use anything. You can use paper plates, you can use styrofoam plates, you can use a plate and then just wash it. So whatever works for you. And I think that's all. You've got your watercolors. Then I think the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do a few, before we start painting, we're going to get out some blank paper, and we're going to talk about a few techniques. One of the techniques that we use is called wet into wet, and basically that's what it is. So I'm filling up my brush with water, and I'm dragging it. I'm gonna move down here for you. So I'm putting water onto the paper, just dragging it across the paper. I hope everybody can see that. And then I usually use this technique to do skies or flat surfaces. So it's pretty wet. You can see it's dripping. And then now I'm going to put some color into that water. And it could be my sky, it could be my ocean. I'm going to drag it across. And it's dripping, which is fine. You can just catch it. It won't do that with yours because you're flat. Your surface is flat, so you're okay. Okay. And then if you want, you can put clouds in. I'm going to pretend like that's the sky, and I'm going to take my cloth, my wiping cloth, and I'm going to put some clouds in. Okay, so that kind of looks like clouds. I'm going to take my liner brush, and I'm going to line those clouds. Now, this is a dry brush technique. Okay. I'm just going to pull this in so I can get darks underneath the clouds. So I think you have the idea. Okay. See if I can get a little bigger cloud. No, that's not going to work. Okay, so I accidentally didn't use real good paper. You've got better paper in your kit. You got a piece of pretty good paper. Okay, so that's wet into wet, basically putting down just plain water, then dragging the color into it. And the next thing we're going to do is wet onto dry. So we've got a dry sheet of paper, and I'm going to pick up some paint on my brush. And my brush is pretty dry too. So see, it's not dripping. It's not wet, but it's, and the paper is dry. I didn't wet it before I went in. Okay. Should we do a little flower? If you notice, I'm using the side of the brush. Okay. I guess that could be I think it could be a rose. What do you think? Think it could be? I'm going to pull the color. I'm going to use a little wet on my brush and pull the color down. Sorry, I'm at an angle, so my rose isn't all that wonderful, but you get the idea. Okay. And then the next thing is dry onto dry. So we're taking some, let's use a green. The paint is dry. And I'm putting some green paint on my brush. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a lot of the liquid out of the paint, out of the brush, the paint. So here we go. So here's my brush. It's still a little wet, so I'm going to dab it. And then I'm going to make a little leaf. Okay. And just maybe move the paint a little bit. But it's pretty dry. And you notice it's not dripping. So all these techniques are used for different parts of a painting. And these are the major ones. I mean, there's a lot that we could learn, but for today, for us, this is what we're going to do. Okay. Let's put a little yellow in there to finish it up, shall we? Okay. And you can go back in and put the details in. That's just to get started. To put details in, I would use a dry brush and a liner. I'm sorry, yes, a dry brush and a liner with the liner brush. Okay, so let's go on to our sketch. Now, you don't have to use my sketch. It's all ready. As I said, it's got the correct paper. This watercolor paper is called cold press because it has the little bumps on it. If it was hot, it would be totally flat. Cold press is actually the best when you're going to watercolor. It just gives a really great look. If it's hot pressed, it's harder. It's got less tooth to it, and the paint doesn't grab onto it. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to let's put the path in, shall we? And guess what I would use for the path? Guess what technique? Yes, you're right. We're going to use the wet into wet. I don't want to use a lot of wet in here because I don't want to drip on to the rest of the paper. But I'm going to Just gently get some wet in there, some water. Okay. There we go. Now I'm going to float some color over this. Well, what color would be fun? I think probably be fun to have a brown, kind of a pretty brown. What do you think? Okay. Now this is just my little beginning, my base. Just going to put a light. I always start light with watercolor because you can always make it darker. You can't always lighten it. If you have like fabulous paper, you can pick up the paint, but for our purposes, we're using inexpensive paper. And when you get to be a really accomplished watercolors, you'll know to get the better paint. You know, you'll be doing there. So I'm just kind of floating it over a little. I'm not scrubbing it. Dry brushing is when you scrub the paint, you scrub it. A lot of people tend to do that when they first paint. They kind of, what they kind of do is they kind of like go like this with the paper. This is gentle, slow, no scrubbing for a while, unless you're going for a certain look, and then scrubbing would probably be great. Now, next I don't know why, but I kind of want to start down here, and I want to paint our little urn. And I decided to make kind of a gray color, but you can do whatever color you want. You don't have to do what I'm doing. You can do your own. Now I'm going to decide that my light source is over on the left. So I'm going to leave some light spots on things on the left. Okay. That looks like green, but it's actually a weird gray. But I don't okay. It's okay. See, I didn't test it. Let's test it and see. Well, I don't know. It looks green, then it looks gray. Anyway, I don't mind it. And let's put some color down here. Kind of looks like an army green for some reason. How's that? Okay. And then I might put yellow, a little bit of yellow right here. And again, this is dry brushing. This is not a real wet. Okay. And I'm going to take a real gray and go over that, I think. But you can choose, and I'm doing just very light strokes, light touches. There. Oops, it was a little too wet. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to dab it. Okay. There we go. Just a little dabbing. And I think I want to put a little shadow. I'm going to take brown. Just put a little shadow under here. Okay. And we can work on that more. I'm going to leave it. Watercolors, you have to be very careful because sometimes if you overwork them, they get muddy. So I'm just warning you about that. You don't want them to get too muddy. So I think we're going to, maybe should we work on the path a little bit? Now I did kind of wet into wet here on the path, so now I'm going to do a dry brush and fill in the little bricks. Okay. Now later on, I'll go and, okay, I'm going to dry that up a little bit there. Later on I'll go in and I'll put in shadows, because shadows always make a painting very interesting. Okay. And just very, very gently putting in some color. And some more. I'm going to do a different kind of a red brown. There. And I'm not filling it in. I decided on this painting I kind of like that I'm leaving some, I like to leave some of the spaces open. Okay, so how's it looking so far for you? Are you being gentle with this watercolor? Watercolor is really relaxing. You just kind of a gentle. Now, these bricks are closer to us. So they are, if you notice, they're bigger. I'm at a bad angle, but you'll get it. So I'm making them darker because they're bigger and they're closer to us. So it kind of gives us a little perspective here. Okay, and the next thing I think we'll try is the sky. Now remember, we're gonna float some water. I'm not gonna put a lot of water on this, but just enough to get it there. You see the water? Oops, I don't want to get into my house, so we'll put that like that. So I put a little water, find a little, and a little blue paint. I'm not going to keep it real wet, although this could be wet, too wet very easily. There. Just kind of put it in little by little. And I think I'll put, can you see that? Then let's put a few little clouds in. You don't have to, I just kind of like to do that. Okay, you can't see them, but when it dries, you'll be able to see it. The little clouds. And let's put some, I think I want to make the house, the little the little house, the little shed, gardener's shed. I think I want to make it blue. What do you think? Should we make it blue? Okay. And I'm not going to make it a real dark blue because we're going to have a lot of green in there. So we're going to just put a little blue. Yeah. It's kind of a hint. Okay. And why don't let's start up here on the left in the tree. Should we put the little, I think I want to start putting some of the leaves. One of the things about watercolor is you need to mix different greens. Usually when I start a painting, I'll mix all different greens. Because if you have the same green on the painting, it gets boring after a while. So, let's see, there. Here we go. I'm just doing, you see that? Just a little bit of green. And I'm just kind of dabbing. I'm not going like that. I'm not coloring the whole thing green. There. And let's see. I want to put a little yellow in here. There. And I put fruit up here, which I don't know what it could be. You could have whatever you want. But there's a little fruit up in there. But I'm going to wait till this dries and go in and put some kind of a pretty color. Okay, now I'm going to, let's put in the tree bark. Okay. So it's starting to shape up, huh? Okay. What do you think would be a good color for this little arbor? I was thinking blue, the same blue that we used on the little house, the little garden shed. I like using just a few colors usually. That way it's easier on the eye. Also, I like to use colors to pull around colors. So usually when you use a color in one spot, you should use it in another spot. Now, that's not just this. I'm making up rules, but you can break them. I'm okay with that. It's fine to break them. There. Starting to shape up a little. Should we make this water can? Well, I don't know. Instead of doing the water can, the blue, I think I'm going to do the chair blue. I think that'd be pretty. Okay. And I think I'll kind of leave this kind of light right there. It's starting to shape up. Got a long way to go. You're going to have to work on it when we're done. And I think this looks like a clay pot to me down here. So I'm going to make a clay color. I think I'm going to, usually I'm going to take like a light red brown. Maybe put in a little brown. This is a brick color. And I'm going to put some brown in there. Okay, and that's going to be my pot. I think I want to put a little more, I'm going to put some red in here. Okay, that's not a bad color. Okay, and it kind of looks like the path color. There. And pull this color over a little. I'm just taking it with my brush, I'm pulling the color over. There. Now, next thing I'm going to, whoops, get my little wiping cloth and get that out. And the next thing we're going to do is, what do you think? Let's paint this urn, the flowers in the urn. Shall we do that? Yeah. Well, you can decide your color. I kind of want to do red. You can do whatever color you want. I think it'd be fun to have a pop of red right there, because around it, surrounding that, is going to be, I don't have a bright red. I don't know if I think you might have a brighter red in your kit than I do. I think surrounding the red is going to be green. This should set it off very well. Now this looks like pink. I don't have a really, no, I'm going to orange that. I'm going to add orange to this red. Okay, so I'm going to show you what I'm doing. I had a red, which is not a real true red. It's more of a rose. Well, I actually had I had orange on my brush. So then it turned into more of a red. Okay. So here's the flowers. I'm gonna do, can you see that? know, you can decide what color you want. Okay. And I'm going to wait a little while before I put in the green. And these flowers up here are supposed to be hydrangeas. So let's get a hydrangea color. Hydrangeas are all different colors. I like the kind of lavender ones. Yeah, that's pretty. So we'll make them lavender. You can actually make them whatever color you want. No one's ever going to yell about it. Let's see, there's some lavender. Hydrangeas are so fun. I'm just using the tip of my brush and filling in the flowers. So I didn't, usually people start from the top and watercolored up towards the bottom. Or some people, it depends on the painting. You can start at the bottom, work up to. This one I kind of went around. I thought it'd be fun to get the flowers in first. I don't think it's a problem. You can decide what you think. I think let's put in these vines here on top of the little, let's make a green. On top of that, let's see, let's go with green. So I'm just taking a bright green. Then I change green. I usually mix purple with green to bring the color down so it's not so hot. And then you can always add more yellow green if you think it's too dark. So that's what I just did. So I think I'm happy with this. So then I'm gonna just kind of take my brush and dab it, just set it down there. This time I'm just laying paint down. If you can see that. Can you see that? Picking up my color from here. Just laying the paint down. I am gonna put some berries up here, or some flowers, whatever I want, on top of the little, it's not really a gazebo, and it's not really, it's arbor. It's an arbor, little arbor. So just kind of just gently laying down the color. Okay, now see, you can see the different greens because I've mixed them differently. Okay, and I really like that green that I found. So I think what I'm going to do, see, it was just green, bright green and purple. I'm going to put at the bottom, these plants down here. I think I'm going to just gently put those in. I kind of did that to show the pathway. That's why I put the green there. Thought it'd be pretty next to the walkway. Get the idea. Let's see, what else do we put in? What else do we try? Oh, don't forget to put a little more green down here. Near the walkway. This is actually a sketch that I did from photographs I did of my friend's garden, Deb, her garden. I'm sorry, Barb's garden. That's another garden friend. This is actually her garden. And I like to go and paint. I like to go and photograph her garden. I'm gonna get some, a brick color. I like to photograph her garden at different times of the year. I didn't get to photograph it this winter, which I was disappointed, but I did get to go in the fall and in the spring and late fall. Okay, so now I'm happy with this color. It's brick and brown mixed together. Oops. See it? And I'm gonna put in some shadows. It's not dark enough, get some more. And there's probably a lot of shadows under the arbor. Does that look dark enough to you? The problem is I'm always afraid to get it too dark. There, it's a little better. You know how when you look at the afternoon sun, it's kind of dappled on everything? So I'm trying to get a dapple effect. You will probably do a better job than I do on that. It's a little dappling. Okay. So I think you're getting the idea, and I hope that you finish this and play with it. The trick is don't use a lot of water. Just be careful of scrubbing your paper. Just be real gentle with it because watercolors are very gentle. Thanks for joining me today, and I hope you have a good rest of the day. And I will be back in June with acrylic painting. Take care now. Bye.